You think your financial problem is technical? He thinks that if he learned to invest better, to budget better, to earn more, everything would be resolved. You're chasing symptoms while ignoring the illness. Your problem is not technical. It's mentality. It's the mental operating system that runs silently behind every decision you make. And as long as this system is corrupt, no matter how many tactics you learn, you will continue to sabotage yourself. I'm going to tell you something that no one wants to admit. The difference between rich and poor is not mainly education, opportunity, or luck. It's mentality. It's how you think about money, value, risk, time, and trade-offs. Two people with the same resources, the same opportunities, the same intelligence will have completely different results based purely on how they think about the economy of their own lives. One sees a world full of scarcity, threats, and zero-sum games. Another sees a world full of opportunity, value creation, and mutually beneficial exchanges. A victim mentality operation. Another agent mentality. One is concerned with justice, another effective one. And these differences in mentality produce chasms in results. And the harshest truth? Your economic mindset was implanted in you by people who failed economically. Your parents, your teachers, your culture, your formative experiences have all conspired to install a mental program that guarantees failure. And you don't even know you're running this program because it's so fundamental to your thinking that it feels like objective reality rather than programmed interpretation. Let me explain something to you about how mentality works. You don't see the world as it is. You see the world through mental filters. These filters determine what you notice, what you ignore, how you interpret events, and what actions seem reasonable. And if your filters are calibrated wrong, you will make consistently bad decisions while believing you're being rational. When I was young, I worked with two men in similar financial situations. Both earned little. Both came from poor families. Both had debts. But their mindsets were polar opposites. First, he saw every transaction as someone trying to scam him. I saw employers as exploiters. I saw rich people as thieves. He saw the system as an arranged game where he would never have a chance. So he didn't try. He complained, blamed, and he remained poor throughout my life. Secondly, each transaction has the potential to create value. He saw employers as people who would pay him more if he delivered more value. I saw rich people as people who solved problems at scale. He saw a system as a set of rules that could be learned and used. So he learned. Tried it. Failed. Adjusted. And in 10 years, he had built his own business and assets that he never dreamed possible at first. Same initial situation. Opposing mentalities. Completely different destinations. And if you think this is an anomaly, you are mistaken. This is standard. That's the rule. Mentality predicts results more than any other factor. Now let's specifically dissect the components of an economic mindset that works versus a mindset that fails. And I'm going to be brutally honest about which one you probably have. Scarcity versus abundance mentality. Scarcity mentality sees the world as a fixed pie where someone getting more means you getting less. Sees competition as a threat, sees the success of others as your failure, sees wealth as a zero-sum game. This produces envy, resentment, a focus on redistribution rather than creation. Abundance mindset sees the world as expandable. See how the cake can grow. See what value can be created. See that voluntary exchanges benefit both sides. Sees the success of others as proof of possibility. This produces collaboration, inspiration, focus on creating more rather than dividing existing ones. Which one do you have? Be honest. When you see someone successful, is your first reaction, how can I learn from them, or they probably cheated? If it's Monday, you have a scarcity mentality, and this mentality guarantees that you will remain poor because you focus on slices rather than growth. Victim versus agent mentality. Victim mentality sees external forces as determinants. Bad economy, unfair government, exploitative boss, luck against you. There's always an external reason for failure. There's always someone to blame. This produces passivity because if you don't control the outcome, why try? Agent mentality sees you as a causal force. Recognize external limitations, but focus on what you can control. Takes full responsibility for results. Don't waste energy blaming. Spends energy adjusting approach. This produces action because if you control the outcome, experimentation makes sense. Which one do you have? When something goes wrong financially, do you analyze your decision or blame the circumstance? If it's second, you're a victim. And I saw great women don't build wealth because they gave up power. Short-term versus long-term mindset. Short-term mentality values immediate gratification over future security. Value pleasure today over freedom tomorrow. Make decisions based on present sensation. It discounts future so severely that it is basically invisible. Long-term mindset visualizes future vividly. You feel pain in the future if you suffer the consequences of bad decisions today. Sacrifice the present to build the future. Understands composition and patience. Which one do you have? Do you eat marshmallows now or wait to have two later? Your literal answer to this question as a child predicts financial results in adulthood. And most people eat marshmallows. Consumer versus producer mentality. Consumer mentality sees the world as a source of things to buy, identity constructed through consumption, status demonstrated through possessions, value measured by what you can buy. This produces an infinite cycle of earning to spending. Producer mentality sees the world as an opportunity to create value. Identity built through capabilities, status is irrelevant or derived from contribution. Value measured by what it can create. This produces a cycle of create, capture value, reinvest. Which one do you have? When you receive money, your first thought is what to buy or what to build. Most think about consuming, and you're stuck in a perpetual hamster wheel. Employee versus entrepreneur mentality. Employee mentality sees safety as a priority, prefers predictability over opportunity, avoids risk even when risk is asymmetric in favor. Potential exchange of upside for the illusion of security. This produces dependence on a single source of income controlled by others. Entrepreneurial mindset sees opportunity as a priority, prefers potential over predictability, accepts calculated risk when upside justifies it, values control over illusory security. This produces multiple sources of income and real resilience. Which one do you have? Would you prefer a guaranteed salary of $5,000 or the opportunity to earn $0 to $15,000 based on performance? Most people choose it guaranteed, and it limits potential permanently. Fixed versus growth mindset. Fixed mindset believes that capabilities are static. You are or are not good at something. Failure is evidence of permanent limitation, so avoid challenges that may expose inadequacy. This produces stagnation. Growth mindset believes that capabilities are developable. Failure is feedback for adjustment. A challenge is an opportunity for expansion. This produces continuous improvement and eventual mastery. Which one do you have? When you fail at something financial, do you think, I'm not good with money, or I haven't learned that skill yet? First is fixed mindset, which guarantees you never improve. Cost versus investment mentality. Cost mentality sees every expense as pain. Focus on minimizing exits. Sees education as expensive. See tools as waste. See help as luxury. This produces a false economy where you save pennies and lose dollars. Investment mentality distinguishes cost from investment. Cost is an expense that does not return value. Investment is an expense that multiplies capacity. Education that increases income is an investment. A tool that multiplies productivity is an investment. Help that frees up time for greater value is an investment. This produces accelerated growth. Which one do you have? Do you avoid all expenses equally or analyze ROI? Most avoid everything and get stuck doing low-value work because they don't invest in multipliers. Price versus value mentality. Price mentality focuses only on monetary cost, always buy cheaper, does not consider quality, durability, or total cost of ownership. This produces repeat purchases of crap that cost more over time. Value mindset analyzes total cost, including time, quality, and longevity. Sometimes you pay more initially for something that lasts and performs better. Understand that cheap can be expensive. This produces real long-term savings. Which one do you have? Do you buy a 20-inch shoe that lasts 6 months or a 100-inch shoe that lasts 5 years? Mathematics favor second, but most buy first repeatedly. Zero-sum versus positive mentality. Zero-sum mentality views all economic interaction as competition. For you to win, someone else must lose. This produces conflict, distrust, and lost opportunities for mutually beneficial collaboration. Positive-sum mentality sees that value can be created through exchange. Both sides can win. Specialization and trade increase total wealth. This produces cooperation, trust, and an explosion of opportunity. Which one do you have? Do you see employers as exploiters or exchange partners? Do you see the customer as a target or collaborator? Your answer determines how much value you can create and capture. Deserving versus creation mentality. Deserving mentality believes that you deserve things for exist. He deserves a good salary, it deserves security, it deserves comfort, and he gets indignant when he doesn't receive it. This produces resentment and passivity waiting for the world to deliver what you deserve. Creation mindset understands that the world owes you nothing. You get paid in proportion to the value you create. Want more? Create more. This produces an obsessive focus on increasing value delivered because it is the only way to increase value received. Which one do you have? When you don't get promoted, do you feel indignant, or do you analyze what you need to do differently to create more value? First, it is merit that leads to nothing. Second is creation that leads to everything. Conformity versus originality mentality. Compliance mindset follows standard script. School, job, retirement. Do what everyone does. Don't question. Don't try it. Accept conventional wisdom. This produces average results because you are doing what millions are doing. Originality mentality questions everything. Forehead. Try it. She's willing to look strange. Recognize that extraordinary results come from unconventional approaches. This produces outlier potential. Which one do you have? Do you follow the accepted path or build your own? Most follow and stay on average because average is the definition of following the path. Now here's the truth that will hurt you. You probably have mostly bad mindsets because they are standard. They are what society installs in you since childhood, and you never questioned it, never checked. Just operated with standard programming and wondered why you don't get different results. Changing mentality is more difficult than learning technique because mindset is deep. It's identity. It's how you see yourself and the world. Changing this requires questioning the foundations of your thinking. It requires admitting that much of what you believe is wrong. It requires massive discomfort to operate differently from how it has always operated. But it's the only change that really matters, because mindset drives behavior. Behavior drives results. You can know all the tactics in the world, but if mindset is wrong, you won't execute tactics, or it will perform inconsistently. Or it will sabotage when it starts to work because the result does not align with identity. I saw people learn exactly what to do financially and what not to do. Why? Because mentality didn't allow it. Scarcity mentality prevented investing because it saw risk instead of opportunity. Victim mentality prevented taking responsibility. Short-term mentality did not allow sacrificing the present. Knowledge was no problem. Mentality was, and it's for you too. So how do you change mindset? First, recognize that you have a problem. Stop defending your current beliefs. Stop rationalizing why you think the way you do. Accept that your mindset was installed without your conscious consent and may be fundamentally wrong. Second, expose yourself to different mindsets. Read biographies of financially successful people, not to copy tactics, but to absorb mentality. Notice how they think about risk, opportunity, failure, value. Notice the mental filters they use. Compare with your filters. Question, which is more useful. Third, experiment with behaviors derived from a different mindset, even if it seems wrong. Act as if you have an abundance mindset, even if you feel scarcity. Act like an agent, even if you feel like a victim. Behavior can precede belief. Sometimes you act your way into new mindset instead of thinking your way. Fourth, monitor your internal dialogue. Every time you notice victim thinking, challenge it. Every time you notice thoughts of scarcity, reframe. Every time you notice short-term thinking, force yourself to consider the long-term. You are reprogramming your mental operating system. It requires conscious attention because old patterns will try to regain control. Fifth, associate with people who have the mindset you want. Mentality is contagious. If you spend time with victims, you absorb victim mentality. If you spend time with agents, you absorb agency. Choose your social environment deliberately based on mindset, not comfort. Sixth, accept that changing your mindset is a process of years, not days. You will relapse. You will catch yourself thinking old ways. This is normal. It's not failure, it's process. Keep correcting, keep exposing, keep experimenting. Slowly, new standard becomes default. And here's what no one tells you. Changing mindsets is painful because it requires killing versions of yourself. It requires admitting that much of what you believed was wrong. It requires alienation from people who operate with an old mindset and don't understand its change. It requires a period where you're no longer who you were, but you are not yet who you want to be. This is deep existential discomfort. Most give up at this point. Go back to the old mindset because it is familiar and comfortable, even if it produces bad results. I prefer misery gives the uncertainty of transformation. But if you hold on, if you get through the uncomfortable valley, you emerge with a mindset that makes success inevitable. Not immediate, but inevitable. Because you will consistently make better decisions. You will see opportunities that others don't see. You will take intelligent risks that others avoid. It will persist where others give up. And over years, this compounds into results that appear magical to outside observers, but are simply the mathematical consequence of consistently applied different mindsets. Here's my ultimatum to you. Your techniques don't matter if your mindset is broken. You can learn to invest, to budget, to negotiate, to undertake. But if you operate with a scarcity, victim, short-term, consumer, employee, fixed, cost, price, zero-sum, deserving, and conformity mindset, you will fail. You will know what to do and not do, or do it and sabotage it, or temporarily succeed and destroy. You need to fix mindset first. This is foundation work. It's boring. It's slow. There is no instant gratification. But it's the only work that really matters, because everything else is built on that. And if you don't do this work, You will spend the rest of your life blaming external factors for results that are a direct consequence of how you think. You will die poor, blaming the system instead of recognizing that the mental operating system was corrupt from the beginning. The choice is yours. Continue operating with the standard mentality that society has installed and expect different results. Or do the brutal work of examining and rebuilding foundational mindsets and creating the possibility of different outcomes. But don't pretend it's about technique. Don't pretend it's about knowledge. It's about mindset. It always was. And you will need the courage to admit it and the humility to do something about it. Most have neither one nor the other. Do you have it? Milton Friedman. How to make better financial decisions. Thumb. Decide better. 13. Boy. 05. You think your financial decisions are rational. You think you analyze options, weigh the pros and cons, and choose the best path. You are lying to yourself. 90% of your financial decisions are made in seconds, based on emotion, bias, and subconscious programming that you don't even realize exists. And then you spend the next few minutes building rational justification for a decision you've already made emotionally. I'm going to tell you something that will destroy your illusion of control. You are not in charge of your decisions. You are the puppet of neurological systems evolved for a completely different environment. Your brain was optimized for survival on the African savanna, not for financial decisions in a modern economy. And this incompatibility is systematically destroying your financial life. Every bad decision you make, every impulse you follow, every mistake you repeat, is the product of misadjusted brain circuitry trying to solve problems that no longer exist using tools that no longer work. And as long as you don't understand this, as long as you continue to believe that you are making conscious and rational choices, you will continue to be a victim of your own neurology. Let me explain something about how decisions really work. Your brain has two systems. System 1 is fast, automatic, emotional, intuitive. System 2 is slow, deliberate, logical, analytical. System 1 is always on. System 2 is lazy and only turns on when absolutely necessary because it consumes massive power. So what happens? System 1 makes most decisions. And System 1 is idiotic for modern finance. It evolved into immediate life and death decisions. Run from the lion, eat the fruit now because it may not be here tomorrow. Trust your tribe. Be wary of strangers. These heuristics worked perfectly 10,000 years ago. They are disastrous today. But you don't know which System 1 is in control. You feel momentum. Act. And then System 2 builds history rationalizing why you did what you did. You don't make a decision and then act. You act, and then you invent a reason. And he believes in his own story. When I was younger, I watched a friend repeatedly destroy his finances while insisting he was being rational. He bought cars he couldn't afford. But he had reasons. I needed it for work. It was an investment in professional image. It would last years, so it was economical. All perfect rationalizations for the emotional decision of wanting a nice car. He saw reasons as causes when they were consequences. Consequences of System 1 deciding and System 2 justifying. This man was not stupid. He was a lawyer, smart, educated, but completely blind to their own decision-making processes. And you are equally blind to yours. Because blindness is standard. Insight requires the brutal work of observing yourself without judgment and admitting uncomfortable truths. So let's dissect the specific mechanisms that are sabotaging your financial decisions. And prepare yourself because this is going to be uncomfortable. To see machinery behind your choices is to see how much you are not truly in control. First mechanism, hyperbolic discounting. Your brain values present rewards exponentially more than future ones. 100 raised today seems worth more than 120 in a year. Mathematically, you're rejecting a guaranteed 20% return. This is insane. But it seems completely reasonable because your brain discounts future so aggressively that it's practically invisible. This came in handy when you needed to eat now or die. It's not useful when you need to invest now so you don't die poor. But the circuitry is the same, so you choose small pleasure today over massive security tomorrow. Repeatedly. Automatically. Without realizing it. Every time you spend instead of investing, that is hyperbolic discounting operating. Every time you eat marshmallows instead of waiting for 2, that's hyperbolic discounting. Anytime you choose present gratification over better future, that's hyperbolic discounting. And you don't even realize that you're being manipulated by misadjusted neurology. Second mechanism, loss aversion. You feel the pain of losing money approximately twice as intensely as the pleasure of gaining the same amount. Losing 100 hurts more than winning 100, makes you happy. This creates asymmetry that paralyzes action. You avoid investing because you might lose. But not investing guarantees a loss to inflation. You hold investment falling because selling crystallizes loss. But holding on could mean a bigger loss. You don't negotiate salary because you might lose an offer. but not negotiating guarantees that you will receive less. Loss aversion made sense when losing food meant dying. It makes no sense when potential loss is temporary and recoverable. But you can't turn off emotional response, so you make objectively bad decisions to avoid the pain of potential loss. Third mechanism, confirmation bias. Once you form an opinion, you look for information that confirms it. Ignore information that contradicts. Interprets ambiguous evidence as supporting his position. This creates a bubble where you become more and more convinced of something that could be completely wrong. You decide you want to buy a house. So you look for reasons why buying a house is a good idea. You find articles supporting. Ignore articles questioning. Interpret every ambiguous sign as confirmation that now is a good time. And you make a decision thinking you made a rational analysis when in fact you made a selective search for validation. This is not conscious dishonesty. It's how your brain works by default. It is cognitively efficient because it reduces dissonance. But it's disastrous for decisions because it cuts you off from negative feedback that could correct a mistake before it costs you a fortune. Fourth mechanism, anchoring. First number you see becomes unconscious reference for all subsequent judgments. House listed for $500,000. You think, man, they negotiate for $450,000. You think you saved $50,000. You didn't save anything. You spent $450,000, which may or may not be worth that. But 500 anchor manipulated his perception of value. Salespeople use anchoring deliberately. High starting price, discount. You feel like you won, but you lost because you bought something you didn't need at an inflated price based on a manufactured anchor, and you don't notice manipulation because anchor operates subconsciously. Fifth mechanism, mental accounting. You treat money differently based on source or intended use. Salary is precious. Bonus is disposable. Investment money is serious. Gift money can be wasted. But money is fungible. It doesn't matter where it came from. It matters where you go. You wouldn't spend your salary on nonsense, but he spends the entire bonus on frivolity because it's extra. Mathematically, it makes no difference. Psychologically, it makes a huge difference. And that difference costs you because you treat different pools of money with different levels of care, when you should treat all money equally. Sixth mechanism, sunk cost fallacy. You continue the project because you have already invested a lot. Continue the relationship because you've spent years in it. Hold the stock falling because it has already lost a lot. Logic is, if I give up now, the previous investment was a waste. So continue despite clear evidence that continuing only increases loss. But sunk cost is sunk, it's gone. Don't come back. Decision should be based solely on, given where I am now, what is the best path forward? Past is irrelevant. But you can't ignore the past because the brain treats admitting mistakes as a threat to the ego. So you persist in error to avoid admitting previous error. Seventh mechanism, availability bias. You judge probability based on how easily examples come to mind. Do you see not air accident report? Suddenly, you think flying is dangerous. Statistically, it is safer than driving. But vivid example distorts risk perception. Do you know someone who lost money in stocks? Now you think investing is risky. You don't consider millions who got rich in stocks because they are not available in your memory. Single example, available, defines your perception of entire category. And decisions based on distorted perception lead to bad results. Eighth mechanism, illusion of control. You overestimate how much control you have over results. You think you can pick winning action. It can market timing. You can predict the future. Overwhelming evidence shows you can't, but you believe you can because you need to believe in control to reduce uncertainty anxiety. This illusion leads you to active strategies that cost more and perform worse than passive strategies. But you persist because giving up the illusion of control is accepting that much is beyond your control. And this is psychologically intolerable for most people. Ninth mechanism, herd effect. You look at what others are doing and use it as a signal for correction. Is everyone buying crypto? It must be good. Is everyone selling? It must be bad. You outsource judgment to the crowd. The problem is that a crowd is an aggregate of equally lost individuals following each other. It's the blind leading the blind. You get into trends late, it comes out at the bottom, buy expensive, sell cheap, because you are following the herd instead of thinking independently. 10th mechanism, normality bias. You assume the future will be like the past, that current conditions are permanent, what trends will continue. This creates complacency when you should be preparing and panic when change finally arrives. You don't build an emergency fund because nothing bad has happened yet. You don't diversify because your current investment is doing well. You assume stability until instability crushes you. And then you act surprised when the only certainty about life is change. Now here's the brutal truth. You can't eliminate these mechanisms. They are your brain's fundamental architecture. You can just compensate. You can build systems that neutralize bias, can force rationality through external process when emotion dominates internally. So how do you make better financial decisions? Not through willpower or trying to be more rational. Through system design that makes it impossible to make bad decisions even when you want to. First principle, absolute rules. Don't rely on moment-to-moment judgment. Establish rules in advance when you are calm and rational, and follow religiously when you are emotional and irrational. Rule: I invest 20% of all income before I see money. Automated, non-negotiable. It doesn't matter how I feel. It doesn't matter what I want to buy. 20% disappears automatically. This neutralizes hyperbolic discounting because decisions are not made moment by moment. Rule: I never make a significant financial decision the same day I think about it. I wait 72 hours. If it still seems like a good idea after 3 days, consider it. This neutralizes impulse because it forces delay between desire and action. Rule: I never invest in something I don't fully understand. It doesn't matter how much other people are earning. It doesn't matter FOMO I feel. If I can't explain it to a 10-year-old, I won't invest. This neutralizes the herd effect and illusion of control. Second principle, pre-commitment. Remove the possibility of making a bad choice. If you can't access money easily, you can't spend it impulsively. If the investment is locked in for a period you cannot sell in a panic, configure investment to be difficult to access. Penalties for early withdrawal. Multiple approvals required. Any friction that makes impulsive action less likely. You are protecting future you from present you. Third principle, checklist. Airline pilots don't trust memory or judgment. Checklist below every time, even after 1,000 flights. Because checklist prevents mistakes when you're tired, stressed, or distracted. Create checklist for financial decisions. Before purchasing anything over a certain amount, do I need it or want it? Can I pay in cash? Will I use it regularly? Is there a cheaper alternative? Am I buying for the right reason? If any answer is no or uncertain, do not buy. Checklist externalizes rationality. You don't need to be irrational in the moment. You just need to follow the process that the rational version of you created in advance. Fourth principle, second opinion. You can't see your own biases, but others can. Before making a big financial decision, explain to someone that you have no interest in the outcome. If you can't articulate a compelling reason that convinces a neutral observer, it's probably a RA emotional decision. Tie analyzed. You don't need to follow advice blindly, but forcing articulation to a critical audience exposes holes in the logic you were hiding from yourself. Fifth principle, post-mortem analysis. After financial decision, document reasoning. What was the situation? What information did you have? Why did you decide the way you did? What was the expected result? 6 months, a year later, review. Compare expectations with reality. Was the decision good or bad? Why? What did you learn? Without this, you don't learn from mistakes because memory reconstructs the past in a way that validates the present. Documenting creates an objective record that allows for real learning, allows you to identify error patterns that you repeat, allows you to calibrate judgment over time. Sixth principle, explicit opportunity cost. Every decision to spend money on X is a decision not to invest that money, but you don't feel a trade-off because investment is abstract and purchasing is concrete. Make trade-offs explicit. Do you want to buy a $30,000 car? Calculate how much $30,000 invested at 8% per year will be worth in 20 years, approximately $140,000. You're not choosing between $30,000 now and zero. You're choosing between a car now and $140,000 in retirement. Suddenly, choice looks different. Every purchase. Calculate future cost. What would this money become if invested? You can still choose to buy, but you are making an informed choice rather than a blind choice. Seventh principle, experiment before commitment. You don't know how a decision will feel until you live with it. So before committing permanently, try it temporarily. Do you want to buy a house? Rent in the area first. Live there 6 months. See if you really like it. Do you want to quit your job and start your own business? Do side project first. See if it really works. Do you want to change your lifestyle? Simulate per month. See if it is sustainable. Experiment reduces the risk of irreversible decisions based on a romanticized idea of what it will be like. Reality often differs from fantasy. Better to find out through reversible experiment than through expensive compromise. Eighth principle, base rate ignoring detail. You focus on specific details of your situation and ignore general statistics. You think you're special. What general standards don't apply to you? This is illusion. 90% of startups fail. You think your startup will be in the top 10%? Most people lose money day trading. You think it will be an exception. Statistics say you probably won't. Don't ignore base rate. Use statistics as a starting point. You may have reason to believe that you are the exception, but evidence needs to be strong to override base rate. Most do not have this evidence. He just has emotional conviction. Ninth principle, probabilistic thinking. You think about certainties. It will work out or it will go wrong. But reality operates on probabilities. Decision is not right or wrong. It is a distribution of possible outcomes with different probabilities. Invest in stocks. You can lose everything, low probability. Lose something, moderate probability. Gain modestly, high probability. Win a lot, moderate probability. Gain fortune, low probability. It's not yes or no, it's spectrum. Probabilistic thinking forces you to consider multiple scenarios. What is the probability of each? What would be the impact? This leads to more nuanced decisions that appropriately consider risk-return. 10th principle, separate decision from result. Good decision can have bad result. Bad decision can have good result. You judge decisions by what you knew when you made them, not by the result that eventually happened. You invested based on solid analysis. Investment fell due to an unpredictable event. Decision was still good. Process was correct. Result was bad luck. You bet everything on a single number in roulette. It won. Decision was still stupid. Process was terrible. Result was luck. If you judge decisions only by results, you learn the wrong lesson. He thinks you should repeat an idiotic decision that had a good result. You think you should avoid smart decisions that had bad results. This calibrates you in the wrong direction. Judge process. Ignore short-term results. Over the course of many decisions, a good process generates good results in aggregate. But any individual decision can have any result. Now here's reality. You're not going to implement all of this because it requires effort. It requires admitting that you're not as rational as you think. It requires building an external structure that limits your freedom of action. And you value illusion of control and freedom more than quality of decision. So you will keep making impulsive decisions. You will continue to follow emotion. It will continue to fall into the same biases. And you will continue to wonder why results don't improve. Or you can accept the humiliating truth. You are untrustworthy. Your intuition is calibrated to the wrong environment. Your instincts betray you. And the only way to compensate is to build an external system that forces you to do it right when every impulse screams to do it wrong. This is not weakness. It is wisdom. It's about recognizing limitations and building compensation. It's decision engineering. And it works. But it only works if you accept that you need it. If you admit that the problem is not a lack of knowledge, it's human nature, and human nature needs structure to function well in a context for which it was not optimized. Here's my ultimatum. Your financial decisions won't improve through trying harder. They will improve through a better system. Stop trusting yourself. Start trusting the process. Build rules. Follow rules. Document. Learn. Adjust. And slowly, through iteration and structure, decision quality improves. But this requires the humility to admit that you need help, that you can't do alone, that you're flawed and need crutches. Most do not have this humility. Most prefer to continue failing with their ego intact. Do you have the courage to build a system that protects you from yourself? Or will you continue trusting intuition that was calibrated for the African savannah and wondering why it fails in modern economics? The choice defines the trajectory. Choose wisely. Or more precisely, build a system that guarantees wise choice even when you don't want to.